Yeah, that's cool.
No, okay, sorry, I didn't ask.
Yeah. You want to show it to me in case I hate it? I usually do.
Mistake. The whole thing's going to be back in this conference room if you want to bring the camera inside.
Sean.
Zeke.
Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Congrats. Printing there.
We're trying to have a consistent one to put on the website so that everyone gets one background. I'll make it. Oh, come on, I didn't mind taking them. I did that too.
You love the meeting.
The president and the panel are going to be speaking from the inside. So when the panel begins, for the meeting, okay. But you can move around.
Thank you so much. Yo. It's just a BDSL. Yeah, because that could be something, you know.
Your solution's a lot prettier than mine.
What's that?
I said your solution's a lot prettier than mine.
It's all right. Whatever gets you sound, that's all that matters.
Do you mind if I wax this on your head? Thanks.
I got to remember
Alright, so we're going to have you here. We're going to have Melissa and
How's everybody doing?
President Jenkins.
Everybody doing well,
sir? Good to see you, sir. I appreciate you being in the house.
we don't need one. Shanika, you're going to sit right over there. Alright. And we're going to, wherever you want to be in this mix. Melissa, we're going to have you next to maybe Shanika.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Anything you say, canon will be used.
So Shanika's here. So either here
right.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's it. Okay. Thank you.
It works for Superman, Ryan. Okay. Oh, you know what?
Yes.
Yeah, I will ask. I just asked her, so don't stress out. You good?
All right.
You guys good to, do you need anything? Need a minute? What do you need, an outlet? Here, there's an, is that it? Could you get, or is it go there? We can. Oh, it's okay, sure. It's right here, in that, it's out this way. Oh. Got it here, we can finish.
I was just saying, he just prepped from our first term, and he came with the idea.
Yeah, he helped. He gave us the design template. We couldn't have done it without.
Then you guys change the spelling of my name. Yeah.
New shirts. New shirts.
Poor Maggie's working so hard. And sorry, Maggie. I've been called worse.
All right. Everybody good? Awesome. All right. Welcome to the 2024 Baltimore City Council Retreat. I am Zeke Cohen, City Council President, and really thrilled to be here at the great Coppin State with my friends, President Jenkins and Dr. Buckley. Want to say that for me it was really important that we start this retreat here at Coppin. We know that Coppin is an anchor on the west side of Baltimore, that there has been some really extraordinary growth along North Ave Rising in the last couple of months and years, and just feel like it is such an important part of our city's fabric to have this HBCU, which is so deeply dedicated to our community. I'm going to share a few welcoming remarks about the retreat a little later on, but I wanted to start by just introducing my friend, President Jenkins. President Jenkins has brought a absolute sense of stability to this institution. He is a true community partner. He is deeply invested, not just in North Ave, but in the entirety of West Baltimore and Baltimore altogether. He is someone who puts his money where his mouth is. He is deeply engaged in not just the college, but the work of uplifting our city. And so it is such an honor and such a pleasure to get to introduce my friend, our Coppin State President, Dr. Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. I'll have a seat if you all don't mind, and so forth. And let me welcome everybody. It is an honor to have you here at Coppin State University, and thank you, Mr. President, for having your retreat here. As noted, we are committed here at Coppin, and I've been here now. Hard to believe it's going on 5 years, And that time has flown by. Obviously, we came in a time when the city, the state, and the nation, and the world didn't know what was going on. We were in the midst of a global pandemic. But I'm so honored and so proud of how Coppin came through that. You know, founded in 1900, and next year we're celebrating 125 years, we were founded as a teacher's college. And over that span of 124 years, we have evolved. And you're going to hear about one of our signature programs here shortly. But, you know, Coppin has and will always be a teacher's college. But we've also have transformed ourselves into becoming a research university. We have proven to be invaluable and irreplaceable to West Baltimore, and to our great state of Maryland. You know, we are nationally recognized for majors such as social work, which we're going to hear about, our nursing program, well, everybody knows about that, our psychology program, our business program, our teacher education program, and STEM. You know, those are all of our strongholds. I said when I arrived that Coppin State University would be the university committed to changing and transforming the human condition. And our majors would be those majors that help us do that. And we've been very committed. We've been very intrusive about doing just that. Whether chairing the West North Avenue Development Authority and revitalizing West North Avenue, and Coppin is now the first HBCU in the history of our nation to ever be tapped to lead the revitalization of a major U.S. city corridor. We don't take that lightly. People entrust us to make a difference, and we're committed to making that difference. We're also committed to expanding access and opportunity. And that's why I'm proud that, you know, over the last several years, we're one of a few institutions in the entire state that enrollment has grown. In fact, our enrollment here since 2022 has grown nearly 13%. So I'm very excited about that. But I'm also excited that we're seeing more students see Coppin as a university of choice. Students are coming to us from 40 different states, the District of Columbia, and 32 countries. We have also expanded the partnerships that we have with this institution. Mr. President, when I got here, I said that Coppin State University, the hometown university, would also become Baltimore's partnership university. And we're committed to building partnerships that are mutually beneficial and have a significant return on results. We're not here just to look at Coppin. We know as an anchor university that we have a responsibility to West Baltimore and the residents of West Baltimore. And that's why we are leaning in and we are committed, and we help our students understand that their campus is just not here at Coppin. It extends beyond the boundaries of this institution. And that's why our students are engaged within the community. That's why our faculty are engaged. You know, we have a wonderful partnership and a program that I think's been going on now for over 5+ years, which is Healing City, which is a wonderful program where our social work, our counselors, our students, our psychology professors, they all come together to look at the important elements of that holistic development, that wellness, that balance that our city needs. And I'm very proud of the work that we're doing with K through 12 here at Coppin. We have Coppin Academy on our campus, and I am proud to say that last year we reached a 91% graduation rate with Coppin Academy. That puts us in the conversation with, I think, 2 other schools that most people may know in this area. I think they're called City and Poly, right? That everybody talks about with a great excitement. Well, now Coppin Academy is also in that category as one of the high graduating producing high schools in the state. And we are excited about that here at Coppin. We also know that those students, we are creating pathway opportunities for them to either go directly into the workforce, to go into a 2-year option, or to transfer here to Coppin or another great 4-year institution in our state. So over your time here, I hope that you have a wonderful conversation. I hope that you can continue to look at Coppin as a partner and someone who's always going to be there to do its part. Know as the president of this institution, Mr. President, you have a friend in me. Absolutely. You have someone who will always be there to support. We will pull our load and we will lift our share. That is what we are about at Coppin State University. So again, thank you. Welcome to Coppin. For those who this is your first time on our beautiful campus, even the rain can't dim how bright we are and all the great things we have going on here. And for those who are back, welcome back to the best hometown university in Baltimore. And I want to thank you all. At this time, let me turn it over to Dr. Buckley. Dr. Melissa Buckley is a superstar here at Coppin. She teaches in our social work program, which was ranked one of the top 15 top social work programs in the nation, not in the city, not in the state, in the nation. That is how we do things at Coppin State University. Dr. Buckley is a key reason for that. You're also going to hear from one of our amazing students. You know, I'm very proud that 70% of our graduates stay in the state of Maryland after they graduate. Over 50% stay in Baltimore City. That is a huge return on investment. That is a significant contribution that Coppin Eagles are adding to this city and this state over a 5, 10, 15, 20-year period. So, Dr. Buckley, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you for all that you do, and thank you for your great work and leadership.
Thank
all right?
you so much. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to echo Dr. Jenkins and say welcome. Welcome to Coppin as the chair of our Department of Social Work, as well as the president of the Healing City Baltimore Board of Directors. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I actually feel really good about pulling up on this beautiful campus every day because our campus is beautiful. I don't know if you noticed it, but it really is a beautiful campus. I get to work with some of the most dynamic people in this city and in this state. Not only faculty, not only staff, but most absolutely our students, and you are going to hear from one of my students shortly. I made a couple of notes this morning because I didn't want to forget some of the key points. Healing City Baltimore, well, before I even say that, when I came to Baltimore a couple of years ago, I met Zeke and our now mayor, Brandon Scott. And I can honestly say these two people became my two first friends in the city. And Zeke is truly a friend, like outside of all of this stuff. And if you knew me personally, you would know that I'm not into all of this stuff, but I am into the authenticity. And that's who Zeke is. Like, I'm amazed that you just can remember everybody's name. I don't know how you do that, but it's impressive. And so when we met and we became friends and we started this work, when Healing City started down at City Hall and we met in that really old conference room, there were no seats in that room. And what happened was it was people who were committed to healing Baltimore, whatever that meant for them, for their own personal journey. People came down, good morning, people came down to City Hall week after week. I even got my car towed one time at those meetings. But that is how committed we were and are to the movement. And I also want to lift up that at that time in 2019, the City Council then, there was this resolution that recognized the struggle that Baltimore and Maryland HBCUs were facing with the 14-year lawsuit. And at that time, the City Council looked a little bit different because some of you are new, but the City Council then stood with the HBCUs in the state. And you all named us the jewel of West Baltimore. I keep on trying to tell people, look, we have, friends at the City Council. And you putting that stamp of approval on this oftentimes overlooked and forgotten institution means the absolute world to us. And so we look forward to continuing the partnership as the glistening jewel that we are. So that was in 2019. In 2020, Healing City Baltimore met here. Well, we started that weekend in February at Morgan State, and then we came here on that Sunday for this really energizing event. And we marched from here to Frederick Douglass, where the then mayor signed the Elijah Cummings Healing City Act into law. Impactful that was, not only for the city, but for this campus to be a part of legislating the first trauma-informed legislation in the nation. And then that led into the first trauma-informed legislation at the state level. Our students are very proud of the fact that they have the opportunity to participate in that. Our students have been a part of this movement from the beginning. Our students know that they can reach out and touch their elected officials, and this is a unique relationship. I've lived in many different cities. I've never been able to literally reach out and touch in the way that we can do here in Baltimore City, and I think it's something that we need to really elevate and be proud of. Our students that graduate from this program, they go on to do amazing things, but that doesn't come without challenges. One of those challenges is, of course, funding. Right now, we are partners with the University of Maryland in a school-based fellowship where we have 5 students every year that do a school-based fellowship where they are doing their internship for the entire academic year at a Baltimore City school. This is important because of the shortage of Black social workers in the school. The fellowship carries over from their BSW program here. It gives them entryway into the graduate program at the University of Maryland where their tuition is completely free. And that stipend that they receive here, it follows them. This is an excellent model because who wants to graduate with student loan debt? Nobody. And it also gives them job security. I would love to see if a partnership could evolve like that with the City Council where there is a social worker in every single district. And with that social worker, there would be a paid internship so that that student, just like with the school-based placement, that student can enter the workforce with a good job in a good city, contributing to the good work that we are doing. I'm super proud of our students here. They go to graduate school. Some of them do go on and get their PhDs. They are community activists. As a matter of fact, this coming Saturday, I'm really proud. I get to, and I know Councilman Glover is not here, but I will be participating in a Christmas parade. Check this out, I'm representing my motorcycle club. So I'll be leading the parade in Councilman Glover's district, and the organizer for that event is a Coppin State University graduate. We don't play no games around here, right? And we want to continue to partner with you. We are not afraid of hard work. We are not afraid of partnerships. We are not afraid to take action. We believe in liberation. And so, well, should I introduce her? Or do you want to
before you do that,
Sure.
I do just want to take a quick moment to briefly recognize our then Mayor, forever City Council President, Jack Young, is in the house. All right, back to you. We'll get you soon, Mr. Mayor.
And it's good to see you again. Hey, this is my councilwoman, because I live in District 14. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you? So sorry to be late.
That's okay. That's okay. All right. So, it really gives me great pleasure to introduce Shanika Walters. Okay, sure. Shanika is one of our graduating seniors. She will be walking across the stage in May. And she is absolutely one of our most dynamic scholars. And I'm just so proud of the woman that she is and the many great things that she does here on our campus, but also in Baltimore.
I'm in a room with a lot of important people. Future colleagues, hopefully. Yes.
There you go. All right.
So I just want to say good morning, members of the 74th Baltimore City Council. I'm Shanika Walters, Senator of the Coppin State University chapter of the Association of Black Social Workers. I'm also graduating senior of the Department of Social Work with a minor in psychology. I'm a Dean's List recipient, a native of Baltimore, and as Dr. Buckley would say, I'm a true social justice warrior. It is an honor to stand before you today and have the opportunity to work collaboratively to advance equity, justice, and holistic well-being of the people of Baltimore. As social workers committed to liberation and empowerment of Black communities, we understand the challenges our city is facing. Systematic inequities in housing, education, healthcare, and employment have impacted the residents of Baltimore City. The biggest impact we can have is to amplify the voices of the most impacted, rooting our policies in justice and fostering partnerships across all sectors, such as the partnership the Coppin State University Social Work Department has with Healing City, Baltimore. where through citywide collaboration, we are able to pass the first trauma-informed legislation in the nation, the Elijah Cummings Healing City Act. Let me take this privilege to share that I am a family member of the beloved Elijah Cummings. We need more partnerships that support trauma-informed care. Together with community partnerships, we can shift power systems. As the Association of Black Social Workers, our mission is to advocate and put in the work, bringing cultural competence, trauma-informed care, and community-based solutions to the forefront of our work. Students here at Coppin State take policy classes to understand and acknowledge the policies that are put in place that affect the citizens of Baltimore. I witnessed Councilwoman Felicia Porter stand up for women's rights at the City Council meeting held in October. This is the advocacy that our city of Baltimore needs. I started my groundwork in 2017 with Baltimore Corps. During that time, I was introduced to then City Councilman and now City Council President Zeke Cohen, who I admire. The work I've seen him do during my internship and after is what I call putting in the work. Thank you. Just as Councilman James Torrance has done in District 7, where I currently reside. He has advocated for strategies to reduce crime and improve education for our youth. We know in your role as City Council members, you are dedicated to ensuring that every decision made in chambers reflects the values of equity, inclusion, and dignity of all of those you serve. Let today continue that call of action and remind us that we have a role in dismantling barriers and building a unified city. No matter the zip code, all of Baltimore should have the opportunity to thrive. And we at Coppin State are ready to continue the change for liberation and engage in ongoing partnerships with Baltimore City Council. We are ready for action. So thank you for your dedication to the shared mission. I hope to work alongside with many community leaders like yourself in the future to achieve meaningful and measurable change. And I thank you for your time today.
All right. Thank you so much. And one more big round of applause for Shanika, Dr. Buckley, President Jenkins, and to the entire team at Coppin State for having us here today, for the warm hospitality, and just for being your authentic self. And I will just say I am truly looking forward to expanding our partnership. I love what you lifted up about having social workers engaged in our districts. I think that's a great idea, and we should think about how to do that.
Let's make it happen.
Let's do it.
All right, thank you. Take care,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. All right. So again, welcome to the 2024 Baltimore City Council retreat. I am really excited for us to be here, starting here at Coppin State. As mentioned, this is an anchor in West Baltimore, but it's also just a home to many of our students, many of our faculty, and many of our residents in the city of Baltimore. And situating us here, we know we have a strong meds and eds community in our city, and so I thought starting here was really important. The purpose of this retreat is for us to be able to build a culture of collaboration, a culture of learning, to learn from each other, and to lift up the best about Baltimore. I want to thank Vice President Middleton, whose idea this was. You're going to hear from her in a little bit in introducing our next panel, but I think we have a council with some truly incredibly talented people on it, and it's going to be incumbent on us to harness that talent. Look, we know that not too long ago, the voters of this city gave us a mandate to govern through soundly rejecting question H, which would have cut this council in half. That means that we got to live up to some really high expectations and make sure we are making it count every single day as the 74th City Council. I'll also say, I think that we are looking at some real instability in the national political scene. We have had enormous support from the Biden administration, and there is a high likelihood that we will experience a good deal of instability in our national politics. And I think it gives Baltimore an opportunity to model what truly multiracial democracy looks like, where we don't have to demonize anybody, we don't have to have a us versus them or an other, we just have to deliver for working people in our city. And that, again, is the purpose of this retreat, is for us to start out on a note of learning, of collaboration, and of really just being able to hear each other, see each other, and establish some shared values and norms. And this is also about building trust with each other. Really important that we all have enough faith in each other, that we assume best intent, and that we are striving to support each other. So just briefly, some of the stuff that we're going to be doing, and again, incredibly grateful to be here at Coppin. We are going to go to a school, Pimlico, that is engaging in best practices around restorative practices and building a dialogue that is healthy. We're going to visit a sanitation yard to discuss what can happen when the council engages in effective oversight of city agencies. We're going to talk about economic development at one of our city's most beloved Black-owned businesses. We're going to have sessions on restorative practices and how we can facilitate and mediate challenging conversations. We're going to see the hard work that so many people are putting into the city's future. And I hope we all carry with us a reminder of why this work is so important. Maggie, who is right over here, is going to drive us on time. We are going to stay on time, Mr. Mayor President, because that is really, really important to me and I know to us. And so when Maggie starts nudging you, please do not be offended. Blame me for it.
Yeah, know that Zeke is nudging from behind the scenes.
It is on me. But again, I am really, truly excited for this 2-day retreat. If you could just take out your agenda really quickly, just want to walk through. So this morning, we were welcomed by President Jenkins and the Coppin team. You just heard me give some framing. In a little bit, we're going to hear from Mayor Young, Mayor Rawlings Blake, and Senator Mikulski, all of whom served on this city council prior to their other jobs. We're then going to take a break. We're going to have lunch at the Avenue Bakery. We're going to hear from some of our new and returning council agency staff about what you can expect from them and the ways that they're going to be a partner to the entire city council. We are going to have a session with some folks from Leadership for Educational Equity on aligning around a mission and values for the council. We are going to have dinner at Rise and Rest. If you haven't been to Rise and Rest yet, it's awesome. And then we are going to close out for the day. So I'm going to punt to Maggie to share just a little bit about norms for the retreat, and then we'll take a quick break and then welcome our esteemed panel. Maggie.
Great, awesome. Anytime I think a group is getting together to have dialogue, maybe some debate, conversation, and often when those conversations can really be about kind of personal values and the places where we are coming from, it is helpful, I find it's helpful to just ground ourselves in some operating norms. So essentially the ways in which we want to hold ourselves and ask others to hold the space. So I put a couple that are just always good default ones for me up here, and wanted to just start by kind of sharing the day when a conversation might feel a little tense, or when we may feel like we are not either showing up in our best way or really want to ask our colleagues to lean in to this particular moment, these are the things we're going to come back to. So the first one I have here is be curious. This one's a big one for Zeke, and I think just it is a good way to think about it is always first asking questions. You know, is there something that this person said that maybe I'm missing, or maybe I didn't fully understand, or that way. So those are just examples of curiosity, and I think paired with that is assume best intent. We are curious because we know that every single person in this room is here because they deeply, deeply care about Baltimore. They care about their residents, they care about their district, and they want all of Baltimore to succeed. And so if we operate with that principle, then it makes sense to be curious, and it makes sense to sort of stop and say, you know what, there's probably something else here that I should ask about, because I know this person is coming from a really good place, and that they share with me a deep love of Baltimore. Challenge archetypes. This is going to be one that we're going to ask you to think about, not just with colleagues. You know, sometimes it's easy to say, oh, well, that's just Zeke being Zeke. You know, but actually really, really digging in to say, you know what, there is something that there is maybe sort of a set of descriptions or assumptions that I have about one of the people sitting in this room. And sure, a lot of that may be true, but it's also not the totality of that individual. And sometimes too, I think we tend to just first and foremost think of an individual in a certain box. And this is going to be about a little bit of unboxing that and thinking about what are some parts of this person that maybe I don't always see, and what are some ways in which I can kind of expand my understanding of not just the individuals that you're working with today, but also the challenges that we have in Baltimore and the places we are going to see. So just understanding that we're going to try and make ourselves open, whether we are going to see a school, whether we are going to see a business owner, that the construct that we have about those different people and places is just that, and we should allow ourselves to kind of think a little more deeply and to be a little more curious about what they really are. Use I statements. I think it's just a safe way to operate. Never want to assume or speak for somebody else, and so speaking with an I statement, just usually good practice for that. And then this last one is take space and make space. Sometimes we have people who tend to always be the first to speak and tend to say a lot. We're going to ask you to make space for other people sometimes and just be cognizant of how much you are sharing or how much of the space you are taking up. And then also for those who, hey, maybe I'm a freshman and I don't know if I should be raising my hand, or maybe I'm somebody who's more of an introvert and I'm not always comfortable speaking in a large group. Take that space. We're going to really challenge you to actually kind of take that space. You all are, you have tens of thousands of people who have voted for you to be in this seat, so we want to make sure that you are taking that space and really kind of owning that space today. So those are some to start. Is there anything else that you feel like should be up here that's not currently? In order for us to have the healthiest and richest possible dialogue and really get out of this retreat what we want to get out. Mark, Councilmember Coppin.
I'll say we are all politicians. We all love to hear ourselves talk, but we all appreciate brevity, so I would suggest we all get to the point. We're trying to make one for everyone's sakes.
All right.
Yeah.
Love it. Yep. Time is limited. Get to the point. It'll keep the council president from being too nudgy about us being late.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Councilmember Bullock, I wasn't sure if you were okay.
It's a great one.
All right. Well, if you think of anything else as it comes up, if we realize something is missing, this is written in permanent marker, but there's plenty of blank space still on here, so we can add to the board. We want to make sure that we have everything that we need to really have the tools across members to interact in the way that is going to both bring our best selves and also have the best possible outcome. So we may reference these at different times and to start different sessions, so just know that we will be coming back to that. And then generally as our timekeeper, Council President, I think we have about 10 minutes. So I'll leave it to you before our next session. So I don't know if there's any other additional framing you want to have, or if you want folks to get up and move around, and if so, we'll convene back at 10.
Yeah, that works. We will be back at 10 sharp, and we will start our panel. But again, appreciate everyone being here. Excited to get this going. Thanks. And Maggie, where's food? Food is still.
Food is right out here, and we'll have kind of snacks out there throughout the day. Bathrooms are right behind where Elijah was taking headshots. Anybody here didn't get a headshot? And then we have our new dad of the council. All right.
I literally, my wife had a kid. What,
The other day.
last night, yesterday.
Yeah, Saturday morning.
And I should flag that we profusely told Councilmember Blanchard that this was not required for people who have had a baby in the last 48 hours. But it is really a testament, I think, to his desire to jump right in and be with this group that he is here today.
My wife also wouldn't let me stay home. So it's kind of
All right, great. And just as another, we don't have the bus, just a couple other kind of logistical Maslow's things. Bathrooms are by where the headshots were. We do not have, much to Zeke's chagrin, we don't have our bus today. But I'm being a very good fiscal steward of our tax dollars. So we are going to be driving to the Avenue Bakery for lunch. And you can carpool, or you can take your own car if you need to have a private conversation. But we'll do that at 11:30, and then be back here for the rest of the day until dinner time, which is, as Zeke mentioned, and it should be in a calendar invite, we will be at Rise and Rest for a really amazing dinner. I'm pretty excited about it, so don't eat too much between lunch and dinner. Hi. Okay. Zach, where are you? You know what, I think I may have to go.
What's going on, Jack? You doing all right? Yeah.
We just got back from New York last night.
What are you doing there?
We went on a weekend
So Felicia
vacation.
had, Zeke mentioned this.
You go sit.
Councilmember Parker had a visit with the governor this morning. So he is going to be here in about 10:15. And then the other council members had conflicts that I know Porter was here, and then we'll be back again at 11. And I believe that McCrae was going to be coming by 10, and I think also the same for Councilmember Glover. But yeah, everybody should be here.
Based on this story about a young man whose father had deserted him and he had to get a job and he filled out an application, and the guy came as a black man, and the guy came in and extended his hand, and the guy was shaking his hand, and it was really almost like a Christian thing. And he took his application ball right before the church and walked out. And the guy went after him, got his name, and shook his hand. Long story short, the guy owned a company that was shipping out all kinds of parts for manufacturers. And he gave him a chance. And it was biblical with him, because he said that the guy that killed his father, killed his son, he was hating. He was hating.
We're gonna have you right. We're gonna have you three kind of right here. So
The road. Okay.
Where am I?
Just like fabulous as always. How you doing? You know, but I didn't. You're coming out all because you know that was always when I
And
went.
they converted him to a Christian to forgive his father who wasn't in his life, had abandoned him, and it was in a punch where this other company was going to take their contract. They would take their contract, and also short, the guy who was, the deliverers was his father. the guy, I don't think the guy was a preacher, but he was a very religious guy. Told him about forgiveness, how he forgave the guy who killed his son, a drunk driver. And one of the drivers that was, one of the employees there was the guy who killed his son. So I forgot who it was. Really nice guy. It wasn't horrible.
It's nice. Who likes theater? Your wife?
Huh?
Who likes theater? Your wife?
I do.
You do?
Yeah. My wife likes it.
Who? What did you see?
At a church. I think I told him it's the road, but I don't think it's the road.
I saw Hell's Kitchen on Friday night.
You
Was it
know?
good?
Yeah, it was good.
Good.
Yeah, it was. I spend usually the week there and come back home on the weekends, and I haven't seen many plays. So when I had some friends from here say that they wanted to come up, it was perfect. Perfect.
This was at a little church.
Oh, nice.
One of the people who gave the trip, our friends who had a church up there. It wasn't a road. It was almost like a Christian play. It was really nice. I can't even go.
All right. Excuse me for 1 second. Where are you going to want the senator to sit?
I'm just gonna put her right here.
Who's here?
Councilmember Parker is on his way. You want me to move some stuff?
Have you ever stabbed her? I would. Try to get her a nice little. I can sit wherever. Put me on the corner of the seat on the tick. I don't care. There we go.
Those were nice remarks you gave, by the way, at the mayor's. Yeah, it was funny, but it was also you can see the love. But,
Come on, what is the name of that place we seen? The Forge.
The Forge.
The Forge. Okay,
Write
thank
that
you.
down.
I forgot. Okay, but I still got bus leg. And I was telling the council president. It's the Forge.
The Forge. Right. Jack, you got 3 phones now.
Huh?
Now you got 3 phones.
I kept my city council phone.
Did you?
But people still have that. This is my personal.
Right.
I still, I still do city work.
I know you do.
People still call me for shit when they can't get shit done.
I know that's right. Forge. Okay.
So
that one's worth seeing.
was you able to have a common use meeting with your chairs? You change the structure. You got rid of ways and means.
Change that to budget.
Yeah, it's all it is.
Exactly.
But they gotta understand that when you need them, you really need them.
Hey, how are you?
How you doing, stranger?
Yeah,
How you been?
I'm doing fine.
That's
I'm
good. You
working
with
for this
Zeke?
guy. I'm working
Okay.
for this guy now.
All right, make sure you treat you right. If you don't call me here.
Okay.
Jack will get it straightened out.
No, I'll come around with my sign.
Mr. Man,
Hey, man,
how
what's
you
up,
doing,
man?
sir?
How you been?
Doing all right. How are you? Good to see you. Thanks for joining. All right.
When we did our
All good, Mr. President. Any thing you need from me at the moment? Good.
we did our retreat. It was at Johns Hopkins. It was out there near their campus out there near Mount Washington. Mount Washington. We stayed overnight. I think it was a 2-day. I can't remember. I think it was a 2-day retreat, and we had different speakers. We had someone from legislative reference to talk about the process. You got them coming?
Yeah, we got.
We had everybody from city government. We had outside entities. We had the Greater Baltimore Committee to come and talk about their role and stuff like that. It was really, really nice. And we had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And those who didn't want to stay, they didn't have to stay. Some of them went home and came back the next day. And most of them was on time, because I was a stickler for being on time.
Yep.
I don't want to say about the corn. I was going to talk about the corn, how the council people need to look like legislators, not coming in with baseball cap on the side of their head, no tie on. But I don't want to do that, because it was just think I'll be just focusing on him. But that's what I want.
I think you do a little on how directly maybe like if you look, the city's going to be looking at you guys. You know, it's an important moment. The city council, you know, we know DC is going to be crazy for the next couple of years, but you guys have to be really solid. And it took me my tail to go to the actual suit. So, you know, he said to me when he's in the chamber, he's going to be wearing a suit. I said, I said, that's not like the city council wearing suits. I thought you that. There you go. But you really nice in your suit. You have to clean suit. You did? He's a good looking guy, man. Skinny and all that. Say it again.
The senators were going to get upstairs. She'll be here in just a second.
Where's Stephanie? Where's Stephanie?
Hey, Joe, can we start getting the council members back in? Don't go too far, Jack. Perfect.
But they were all like contemporaries. Right. It was just a matter of who started. I was. Yeah. You're right. I think you were right.
Blanchard was given your seat. Blanchard was given your seat. Zach. Playing your actual seat while Jack's left it open.
Jack, yeah.
Looked like he looked at us.
Right. He licked all the way.
That's not totally true.
Only half of them?
Yeah.
It's not totally
So you
true.
got a 50% chance of having an unlikely family.
Add it to the excitement type of conversation.
Dude, yeah.
Putting that in the story.
Huh? Yeah. What a weird decision to start off your term as a council member.
Like who got the new council established dominance?
You know what's really funny? Jasmine's article about the new mom stuff to do as new moms. I saw that yesterday while we were obviously in the hospital with. So I just texted Jasmine like a screenshot of that and then a photo of us with a baby. Yeah, this feels targeted. Yeah.
Oh, it is. Is it in?
Well, these are cool.
I know. I only know.
Yeah,
one
they're
change
out.
is mine.
Everybody got one, and it should be a shirt.
So when we go on like council jobs and stuff, this is
Yeah, like when we do our walk, the back of the council.
Is your name on?
Oh, no kidding.
That is actually really cool. What's this party?
I got a grizzle inside.
What 2 blocks is that? It's more than 2 blocks. It's like 3 blocks of the north side of Navy Parkway, Gilmore Avenue, and the south side of the church.
So you'll begin to appreciate this. When you highlight people to pick up their sense, it's for like a day or two. Because I don't wear any sense. But like, yeah.
That's what you tell your wife. Whatever.
Oh, she gets it too.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Damn, right?
But no, I mean, she gets it too. Like, you go to these events, you're getting a whole bunch of people.
Wow.
How are you?
The gang's all here. I'm COVID careful, so no hug. But hello to you and congratulations. You're with the Basketball Foundation.
I
aren't
was
you?
for a little over a year and a half, and I went back to Airbnb. I chair their housing council now.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's right. In your lane, you've been passionate about housing a long time. There you go. I've been trying to find this building. Yeah, just stick it over there. And
You want to take your purse, or you want to keep
we're
beside
going to
you?
put that there. Put that right here,
Oh, behind you?
right behind me.
You walk in and out, so it's the only door with good offices like that. I don't have any pictures. I don't have this, like, I don't use it.
You don't want to be comfortable, don't you?
Hey.
Never that.
You got to smell. You're like, what is that?
Get up to do some stuff.
He's gonna give them back.
Zach Blanchard, the new member in the 11th.
I love it. Any bagel?
No, no food.
Got it.
I'll eat your share.
I was riding past the Freddie Gray neighborhood and thinking about the trauma of that day and what all of the city has been through.
Definitely. We're gonna have to lift that up. You want to get up so they can raise your chair? Do you want to be that low?
No, I look like I'm a little kid here.
I feel the same. I feel the same. I have to always have it.
Morning, Danny.
I was actually chairing a committee and the lectern is high.
Right,
And
right
then the
now.
computer, I couldn't see. So I was on the highest chair, so I had to sit.
There we go.
I had to do, yeah, so. There you go, much better.
It's like when the kids
Good morning. Last we saw each other was at Mary Pat's funeral.
You want me to slide in?
Everybody turn around. Good. Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
On both ends, election and debate. Where you go?
All right. Can we first give a huge, robust round of applause for our esteemed panel that is here with us today? I am a former history teacher, and I think it is really important for us as a council to learn from the wisdom that came before us. We have three amazing, amazing people, and most importantly, former Baltimore City Council members with us here today. I am thrilled to kick off this panel. Vice President Middleton is going to introduce, and then we're going to hear from our panelists. I'm going to ask a few questions, and then we'll invite council members to ask questions as well. With that, thrilled to turn it over to my friend, partner, Vice President Middleton, to introduce.
Thank you. Thank you, President Cohen. And thank you for taking on the suggestion of having a retreat. As a long-serving member on the council, Zeke and I were, of course, having discussions, getting prepared just for everything, not just this day, and realized that there hasn't been a real retreat since then President at that time, Stephanie Rawlins Blake, and it was very beneficial for me, and I just thought it would be a good idea to try to bring that back again. Remember the council before this new council, COVID had came and really couldn't plan for anything. So Thank you for taking on the suggestion, and hope all of you benefit or get some ideas the next couple days. And on that note, it's just an honor to introduce these three wonderful panelists. I know all three of them, and I could go on and talk an hour about each one of them, but I prepared just some specific things to say about each one of them, and then we'll move on. So, Barbara Mikulski, here sitting in the center, a former councilwoman, a trailblazer in politics, and a dedicated public servant whose career spans over 4 decades.
How about that?
She is renowned for her tireless advocacy for women's rights, health care, and education, and one of the longest serving women in the history of the United States Congress. Barbara Mikulski is a role model and mentor to many. Her leadership and commitment to public service have left a very important mark on our nation, and we are privileged to have her insights and expertise shared with us today. And then we have Bernard C. Jack Young, a distinguished man of public service, has dedicated his life to the betterment of his community with a career rooted in local government as councilman, council president, then mayor. Jack Young has served the city of Baltimore with unwavering commitment and integrity, known for his hands-on leadership and ability to connect with residents. He is instrumental implementing policies that focus on improving education, public safety, and economic development. And last but not least, Stephanie Rawlins Blake, which many of you know, I replaced Stephanie representing the 6th District and still going strong. And I give Stephanie a lot of that credit for helping to guide me at the very, very early stages. She is a dedicated public servant and former councilwoman, vice president, council president, and mayor of Baltimore. She has made significant contributions. She has made significant contributions to her city and beyond. Known for her innovative approach to governance and her commitment to diversity and inclusivity, she works tirelessly to strengthen community ties and foster economic growth. During her tenure as mayor, she focused on transforming Baltimore into a vibrant and resilient city, advocating for sustainable development and improved public service. Please join me in welcoming all of our panelists.
All right. So, first question for our esteemed panel: if you could briefly introduce yourself, and then share with us what does an effective city council look and feel like to you? And if we could all try to keep our answers under 2 minutes. Senator Mikulski. I'm going to start with the senator.
Well, first of all, former senators or current senators can't order, a cheeseburger in less than 22 minutes. That's why we have the filibuster. First, though, Mr. President, I'm going to congratulate you on your election and even having a retreat like this. I think it's phenomenal. Congratulations to the council for those who've been reelected, old friends, and my condolences to you, Councilwoman Middleton, on the passing of our beloved friend and pal, and to all the new ones. I was elected to the Baltimore City Council in 1971. I'm just under the age of the pyramids, younger than Walter's Art Gallery. But when I was part of a spirited reform, and it was a time in which you sense now, but also Baltimore was in desperate need of a new self-confidence, which I think we need right now. All the reformers that were elected at that time, we were called shiny brights by the media, but Dan Roderick's nickname was the Pothole Parliament. And in many ways, that's so. Because you, and I say we, as because once a council member, always a council member. Even Mary Pat, you know, we were still walking around. Well, the city council is the government that's the closest to the people.
That's right.
You're the ones that are really, in every way, in every day, interacting with real constituents that are calling you about their issues. And what people really want is they want to have access without hassle. Access without hassle. They want action. And then they want accountability to you for what you've been able to do. What I have found to be successful was they called us really to prod the bureaucracy because they were having a problem. Success depends on persistence. You have to be persistent to the point of even being pesky if you have to. And you can use other pains like pain in the whatever and so on. The issues related to policy and personnel are usually not on constituents' minds. They're going to leave that to you to work on the big picture, but they're little people. I have found the most successful thing to do was always have someone, if not myself, to answer the phone, to listen to the problem, often told anecdotally. And what we would have us saying in my office was we couldn't guarantee an outcome, but we could guarantee an effort. And it's the effort that has to be persistent, because you can't always guarantee an outcome. Look at the vacant house issue that every one of us for generations has been working on. They want us to work on the big picture, like working with the mayors, and they want us to pay attention to the little follow through. I want to say more about the challenges facing, but I would say for the pothole parliament, follow the P's. Be persistent and to the point of being pesky, and it is the relentless follow through. And I think that's been the signature of doing it. So that would be my initial advice. You've got to believe I have more to say later, but here's the people who ascended to mayors. I only went to, the Congress. So.
That was big enough.
Thank you, Senator. Mayor Rollins Blake.
Why would you make me go after the senator?
Thank you.
Sitting here, I remembered the advice that the senator gave me on one of our many conversations, and I don't remember if it was when I was city council president or mayor, but one of the things that always stuck with me, senators, you told me that people want to make sure that their children have the chance to thrive. And
Yes.
that is why we are here, to serve our communities so that, that the sky can be the limit. So that's where I start. What do I think makes an effective council? A council that is focused on identifying problems and also working for solutions. I could not imagine being in the city council right now with the Gaia media like at the height, as well as social media replacing real news so many times. So you have a lot of burdens that I didn't have, but you also have a lot of opportunities. With social media, the way it is, you have much more immediate access to your constituents, and they have much more immediate access to you. So the amount of effort, I think, is shared when you have that level of feedback. I will also say you have to decide if you want to get the work done or if you want to be a social media star, because a lot of the work won't get you likes. A lot of the work won't get you in the media, but I think I was able to get so much done, not just because I was there for a long time, but because I was focused on the actual work. I was very interested in sharing credit. I was very interested in collaboration. I always say it's because I'm a middle child. I felt like I was, able to work across interest. But you really, I implore you as a Baltimorean to focus on ways that you can work in collaboration with the mayor to fix the problems. When the senator talks about answering your phone and people are talking about the issues that they're having, talk amongst yourselves. See if that's an issue that is your constituents are having across the city. Look for ways that you can work with the administration to solve those problems. It is so easy, and anybody can point a finger and point out problems. It takes someone who wants to be a public servant to sit down and try to work on solutions. So that is what I would beg of you, to focus on solution finding, focus on consensus building, focus on bringing up our city, because that there are people who make a living out of trying to convince us that Baltimore's best days are behind, to ensure that that is not the case.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And Mayor Young.
Okay, I used to dread talking behind Elijah Cummings. Mayor Blake was, why did you have to have me behind Senator Bukowski? Now I'm asking, why do I have to be behind her? After listening to both of them, there's really not that much that I could cover, other than making sure that you as council members work together as a team. It's not I, it's we. Yeah, it's we and us together. I would encourage you as much as possible, when you have disagreements, don't air it in the media. The media is not your friend. I'm gonna tell you that point blank. Okay. Treat them nice though, but they're not your friend. And I would advise you to work across your districts, because some of your districts are up against each other's district. Work together. Be legislators. Okay. Make sure that you get collaboration. Don't surprise your council members by introducing a bill and you haven't talked to them. Make sure you talk to them about the bill. Get some ideas from them too. Most important, one of his chair members, always be honest with them. I know you're not going to be with the president 99% of the time, but at least be honest. If your yes is yes, keep your yes. If your no is no, just keep an open mind, because you can always come back and say yes. Okay. And I would advise you for your decorum. One thing that I was big on was council people looking professional. Okay. And I was so excited when I saw my friend Ron, because I used to stay on him all the time. He had this gray suit on with his tie. I told you how good you looked, didn't I? I said, man, this is how I want to see you, right? So, no baseball caps turned around in the back of your head on the council. People looking at you. I didn't say that. I didn't say you. I just said, those kind of things, because the public is looking at you. Young children are looking at you, because everything is on television now. They can look and see your actions, how you look, how you respond, and things of that nature. And I would encourage you as much as possible to work along with the mayor. Don't work against the mayor. You're not going to agree with the mayor all the time, but that's something that you all can talk in-house and not out-house. Because once the media find out that you're not, that y'all at war, and then they can pick all of you apart. So as much as possible, don't leak nothing to the media. Always talk amongst each other. Share your information with the council president, and always know that you're not a they call us politicians. I never consider myself a politician. I always consider myself a public servant. You guys are public servants. You serve the public. Never forget that you are public servants, and make sure that you do the right thing. Never take anything, okay? If it don't smell right, it ain't right, okay? You know how people want to give you stuff? Remember, it's what, $25 now? I think it should be raised, because $25 is nothing. But don't take it if it smells, okay? And always remember that somebody is watching what you're doing. And that'd be my advice to all of you. And I want to congratulate you, first of all, for your new son, and congratulate the ones who just recently got elected. Don't come in and think you know everything. All right? Make sure that you sit down and learn from the seasoned elected officials, and make sure that you all continue to work together. And to those who got reelected, congratulations to you. Continue to do the work you do, because I watch all of you, and I'm going to hold all of you accountable.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure that you do that. And I'm happy to be here today.
Thank you, Mayor Young.
City Council President, I forgot to say thank you for having me, and thank you for having this, because I think having a good working relationship doesn't happen by accident. So thank you for your leadership in doing this and making sure that your council starts off on the right foot.
Thank
And
you.
congratulations.
And if I may say something too, I was a middle child too, Mayor, and we got along very well. You know, had a little hiccups, but it never affected our friendship.
Absolutely.
It never affected us getting the work done. So I said that to let you know, Zeke, you and the mayor not going to always agree,
Yep.
but trying to find that common ground where you all can work together to accomplish what we need for the city of Baltimore.
That's right. Well, thank you to all three of our former council members. To take a bit of a trip down memory lane, if you could, please describe your biggest win when you were on the Baltimore City Council. Like, what is something that you feel proud of that you were able to participate in?
Me?
Yeah, we'll go backward order
All right,
this time.
I would say that the Children Youth Fund, me and the mayor, we worked together on that. You know, we had our difference of opinion, but we worked together on that and got that done. So I give her credit for the youth fund as well. I think that's something that was really pivotal for me, and also the reinvestment fund that we had. Didn't that happen under you, the reinvestment fund?
I think so.
Yeah, the reinvestment fund where there was money for communities to be able to get some money to help with their community initiative. But I would say that was one of the greatest accomplishments for me. And inclusionary housing, even though the administration weakened the bill, I understand they have to make money, but the inclusionary housing bill was watered down a little bit. It wasn't as strong as I would like to have had it, but I want to thank the councilwoman who took that issue up and made it a very stronger bill. So with that, I say that was one of the milestones for me.
Excellent. Thank you. Senator?
Well, actually, I'd like to talk about two. But the first thing is, and I believe the successful council person is always people-centric. People-centric. And if we stay people-centric, both in terms of issues undertaken, problems waiting to be solved, but we were looking for a people outcome. And also, it's my firm belief that many of the best ideas come from the people. Now, I got elected for a big reason, which was to fight the road. And quite frankly, we didn't care about a road. We cared about the neighborhoods that were destroying East Baltimore and West Baltimore, the beloved Rosemont area, and going out to Lincoln Park. I also believe that you get advice from the elders, and I called upon the very beloved and esteemed Councilwoman Victorine Adams on how I could be a success in the city council. And she said, you have to be able to count to 10. I was a college graduate, I figured I could do that. And she said, if you have 10 votes, you can do anything. If you have 9 votes, forget it. Well, I introduced the law to repeal the expressway route through the entire program, just to end it. And came the time we had a 14-hour hearing, Council President. We listened to people. And when the vote came, I thought I had the votes. I walked into the council chambers. That before I walked in, though, I got a call from the mayor, William Donald Schaefer. He said, I admire you. You're trying to keep your campaign promises. But I want you to know, Barbara, I'm going to roll you. Not me. Bulldozer Barb. So when the time came for the vote, though, council members were looking at their shoes, they were looking at the dust in the ceiling, and I lost it 16-3. And I went to see the mayor. I said, okay, you said come and see you. He said, see this guy over here? You know him. He's Bob Embry. He says that waterfront is worth something, and so does old man Rouse. Do you think it's worth something? I said, I don't know about the waterfront. I just know about the people in the neighborhoods. He said, well, let's see if we can't work together. I won't go through that, but it took years to deal with those issues. And we did repeal the route, but we didn't solve all the problems. And even now, we have that road to nowhere, which I hope we can bring up because it affects the Trump administration, the budget, and so on. So my biggest success in some ways was repealing the route. But my biggest disappointment was that we didn't solve all the problems because of ensuing it. One neighborhood assets, that could not move, which was waterfront. And we have to then find the other assets for West Baltimore. The other thing was this, and this came from the people. It was the rise of the women's movement. And we were meeting with women from the Women's Law Center, and they told me that when a woman was raped, this was when in Baltimore, when a woman was raped in Baltimore, and called the police, she was taken to Pine Street Police Station. She was not taken to a hospital. And at Pine Street, she had to wait for an OBGYN who was on a city-approved list, not for treatment, not for trauma care, which you worked so hard on, Mr. President, but to gather evidence. Well, I wasn't it. At that time, he said, if we go through the committee process, which was part-time lawyers, and one who insisted on calling me councilman, he got cranky when I called him councilwoman, since it didn't matter. But Wally Orlinsky said, we're going to have a rape task force. And you know what? This goes to what Mayor Young has said, and Mayor Rawlings Blake. We put everybody at the table, advocates, the police, the trial lawyers, and so on. What we came up with was that there would be 3 hospitals in Baltimore designated where the victim would go. There would be the beginning of a new field called forensic nursing, where you would get trauma evidence-based care, but at the same time, you would assiduously meet the demands that the state's attorney's office wanted to go after the rapist. It was the innovation of the president to make a task force and make me chair. We bypassed committees only because committees were going to stop it or disregard it. Innovation in governance. Then the other innovation, let's all sit at the table and not view each other as enemies, but as a source of solving the problem. Nobody wanted to see a victim further endangered or further harmed by the very system. So I consider that to be both a process victory, but most of all, as of today, there are the trauma centers. There is a career called forensic nursing. We have rape kits, we have other things, and that was one of my biggest accomplishments.
Thank you, Senator.
But working with the president of the city council, and then ultimately working with the mayor on the expressway.
Thank you, Senator. And before going to Mayor Rawlings Blake, I do want to just pick up on the point you made, which is that one of our powers as city council members is not just the formal power that we have in the charter, but the power to convene and to bring people together. And I think that that's a good example of watching Mayor Young do this a lot. And research is if there's an issue, bringing together all the different people who are most impacted, the academics, that is something that we as individual elected members really have the power to do, even if it's not in the charter or in the rules, and that it often produces much, much better outcomes when all of Baltimore is represented. Mayor Rawlings?
That's exactly what I was about to say. I'm glad you recognize it because it's important, and it is not in our the Constitution. Right? It's not in the charter. It is something, a power that we have that is not delineated, but it is essential if we're working toward good government. And I think about some of the work that I did with the live entertainment and bringing together people from all walks of life to try to enhance Baltimore's ability to have live entertainment. And you're sitting here now and you're probably looking at me like, what are you talking about? I'm sure it was, everybody wanted it. People looked at me like I was crazy. And I don't want to get into it, but long story short, I brought people together. That's, convening on these things that I think can enhance the city is very important. And I also think a couple of things that I appreciated about my time on the council and city council president, I took our responsibility as
you know, your only function is to approve the budget, right? So what does that mean? I think of it just like Congress, advice and counsel, right? So that is, I believe the job of the council is to analyze the budget and make sure it was doing what it was supposed to do for the people that it served. And what that meant is sometimes we had very contentious hearings with agencies that are under the direct purview of the mayor, and then sometimes outside, that I believed were not being accountable or transparent about their budget. And that is one of the things that I was very proud of, that I was holding people accountable for the ways that they spent their money, whether they were, you know, whether it was the state's attorney's office, whether, you know, it was the police department, whether it was the school system. I was very focused on making sure that the city council held the people who were receiving public funds, holding them accountable. And it wasn't for the gotcha, because before there was ever any contentious public meeting, believed that there were hours and hours of internal meetings. But sometimes unfortunately, and I hope that this is not the case now, but I have found in the past, sometimes the only way to get the change that you want after you've tried everything behind closed doors was to have a open meeting. And you know, sometimes it was interesting. I'll say that. That was my grandmother's favorite word. If she didn't want to say something was bad, she would just say it was interesting. But I would also say, for me, part of the things that I gained the most from the council was seeing how things didn't work. So when I became mayor, I could make them work. So while I was while I was on the city council, previous administrations had tried administration after administration unsuccessfully to reform the pension system, and that's fire and police and the city pension. And what I learned during my time on the city council enabled me as mayor to work with the city council president and the council to reform the fire and police pension, which was a Herculean effort, as well as the city pension system and our health benefits. And I was only able to do that because of the relationships that I built with the city council, with the experience that I gained from seeing all of the failed efforts, and because I believed in collaboration, and because I built up trust with the people that I work with. So when I asked council members to make difficult decisions, they knew that I wasn't doing it for spite. I wasn't doing it for likes. They knew I was doing it to problem solve. And that's with the pension system, the healthcare system. That was with the work that we did to get the 21st Century School Fund established, so we were able to I was working with the city council. Working with the city council president, we again, I saw how administrations previously were not able to get over the finish line with getting significant school and I didn't run the school, but I knew that it was going to take my leadership to get that done. And I worked with the city council president to pass a bottle tax that the American Beverage Association spent millions of dollars fighting against, and made some very, very harsh advertisement. And the city council stood with me on that against these ads, because again, I had their trust, had the information, and we were able to turn that income stream into the foundation for the $1 billion in school construction. Again, because I learned here how to make these things happen. And you don't have to be mayor to learn the things and then to have solutions. You can learn in your place and then work with the administration to get these big things done if you focus on solution finding, and you work with each other with respect and trust, and transparency.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and just thank you for the bottle tax. As a dad who's sending my kids to city schools, that and then the 21st Century Schools Plan has been transformative for our city, and having the kind of buildings we should feel proud to send young people to. And just to lift up from what you said too, just the importance of relationships as the capital that we have in this business. I think it's one of those things we talk about, but we don't lift it up enough, is like, to get stuff done, it is the relationship that facilitates it. So appreciate that.
Can I tell you something funny?
Yeah, go ahead.
So the American Beverage Association spent all that money, like horrible ads about for all them. They pay me $1,000 a year from the U.S. Council of Mayors to judge their contests. They have a sustainability and childhood obesity thing, and every time I laugh every single.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Also, to that point, not to take things personally when.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Appreciate that. All right, so last question from me, and then I want to open it up to my colleagues. Just what is one insight that council members should know about how to effectively serve the city? Whoever wants to start.
Really, teamwork and
Teamwork.
like the mayor said, like the senator said, partnerships, and being open and honest with each other about whatever it is you want to introduce or whatever you want to do as council members in your district. And mainly, not just thinking about your particular district, but the city as a whole. You need to focus on your district, but you got to do what's best for the entire city, and not worry about what's going on in your neck of the woods. Because sometimes the loudest people don't speak for the majority of the people. And you guys tend to, I shouldn't say you guys, but we tend to, because when I was there we did the same thing, we tend to listen at those who speak the loudest and say they speak for the community, and they really don't. They call themselves community activists. You go to the community, they don't know who they are, but they give themselves the title of community activist. I would say that just working together and partnership and being open and honest with each other, I would say.
I do want to just thank Mayor Young. We got to serve together for a term. Even when he was not happy with me, which was somewhat frequent, we had a really good working relationship, and he both had really good staff that I knew that if Mayor Young, City Council President Young, was mad, I could talk to Lester or Michael or Kara or any of those folks.
I didn't say Mayor Long.
But yes, but also just appreciate that you were able to keep the team together, and that it always felt like we're part of a team, and that even if we would disagree or bump heads, that there was always a path back to the relationship. So just wanted to appreciate that about you. Senator?
Well, I think one of the insights that I enjoyed was learning from others, learning from my colleagues about other parts of our community, going there, whether it was popping in a coffee shop or having a lake track sandwich on North Avenue or whatever, learning from each other so that we knew each other and was working and walking in. The other was relationships within our community that were assets. We have a cornucopia of resources, one of which are academic. And it's what we call strategic relationships. You don't have to have an ongoing one in a contract this and procurement rules, et cetera, going through public works. You have Johns Hopkins. Their great school of public health was enormously helpful in making recommendations on the rape changes and so on. They were doing the research for our little task force on what were best practices in other cities that were also coping with this or what had been done. The other place would be Morgan University. Yes, Coppin, but Morgan is really a flagship university. When I've been interviewed about the history of the road on a number of places, the best interviews came from the Morgan kids, the Morgan students. They're not kids, they're young adults. But my point is that you have here places that you can turn to for your power of convening is not only oversight hearings, which are crucial, or organizing for the collaboration, the way Mayor Rawlings-Wakers just talked, but also they're a great source of information, fellows, internships, and so on. And I would encourage you to develop not one with every university, but target those that particularly meet the compelling needs of our city. And I mentioned the School of Public Health, the Morgan School, their great School of Architecture and so on's focused on a lot of this. They really bring it, and you know what? They bring a different generational insight. Mm-hmm. The other, I really encourage you to form a new relationship, a relationship with our new members of the Maryland Congressional Delegation. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of newbies, but several are from former county executives. Johnny O, Senator-elect also Brooke, etc. And the reason I say this is you're going to need them, but they're going to need you. I'm going to give one example. You talked about your 20 cent, the education fund, which was great. Well, they're talking about eliminating the Department of Education. As your former senator, you can eliminate a department, but you don't eliminate the programs. Right. You'd have to do it program by program. Let me give you two that will set constituents off the wall. Head Start, a very non-controversial, non-culturally provocative program. Head Start. And then the other is they administer the Pell Grants and the student loan programs. You can't have this university or Morgan or Hopkins or whatever. One of the roles you can play with the delegation is not only their advocacy for our city and our community and our country, but you can be an amplifier of the voice. Well, why in the hell a lot of this is a stupid goddamn idea? Okay? No, really. Because you talked about the social media, and believe me, I know about social media and being an elected. I thought it was great, but it gave us a lot more work. But think about the relationship with them where they're going to be fighting for you. I've got some issues I'm going to bring up before we leave. And the other is, but you can be helping them tell the story that this is stupid.
Everybody knows stupid.
So, but the other was advice. First of all, one of the things I did was, and Schaefer taught me this, visit every major employer in your district. Major employer. To see, because old man, Mr. Rouse said, economic development was in this triangle. Retain with what you've got and encourage them to build and expand. Build the relationship with what is already there. Second, repurpose that which is old, that can't be used anymore. That was the waterfront and many of the other innovations that Schaefer did. And number two, because of the momentum you have in the first two, you can recruit the new, because when you go to recruit the new, like these mayors try to do, and you will try to do, is you've got the momentum and the energy of the business community and so on. But it is a way of forming relationships. And when I would go to some of these people, I had a big fight, and I'll just stop at this. One of my big fights in beating the machine was Patarakis, Mr. John of H&S Bakery. Well, before he passed, in blessed memory, we got to be friends. Why? Because I went to see him. I said, you employ hundreds of people, from truck drivers to bakers. You know, what can we do? How can I help you? What do you want me to do more of? Where do you think I'm too mouthy? Well, they love that. It's what we call hospitality conversation. You create the climate where they can say the good ideas, but if they've got something that might be a little tense, you've invited them to just put it down on the table. Better to discuss it in a room like this than not doing anything at all or just being angry at each other. I'm telling you, by those visits, we did a lot. Or if it wasn't a major employer, it would be the association, minority contractors, etc. I learned a lot about issues I should be fighting for. I learned where I was a royal pain in the butt, and causing problems, more problems than I was going to be solving. But we had it all out in the open, and you know, it was great, the relationships, because if you approach it with civility, mutual respect, and we want to make Baltimore a better place, you can get a lot done. So reach out and touch someone before they take a hit at you.
Senator, if I may, Council President Zeke Cohen was the king of getting those interns. He had more interns than we had staff. Every time I went around, who are you? Oh, I'm an intern. I'm in Councilman Zeke Cohen's office. All these interns. So learn from him about the interns. You know how to get them.
Appreciate that, Mayor Young. And just to the senator's really good point, you know, I think about even when you've had a really tough relationship with someone, keeping that door open, or other folks, that it's always worth it in the end to try to find the good in the person and try to find where there can be partnership, because at the end of the day, my wife tells me this all the time, it's not about us, it's about the city. And having that working relationship between an elected official and a business leader or a nonprofit or a university is so important, even when it feels frustrating.
Yes.
So I appreciate you doing that. Mayor Rawlings-Blake?
I would say, to that point, and to Jack's point, please spend more time talking to people outside of the echo chamber than inside. On the other side of government, I realize that sometimes we spend an inordinate amount of time fighting about things that most of our constituents couldn't care less about. And because we listened to a handful of people who were the loudest, we were spending our political capital, our mental capital on things that had sometimes had very little impact on whether or not the city worked better. So try to, you know, have somebody be responsible for reality checking some of the stuff, especially if you're in a heated debate. Somebody step back and say, what is this really about? How is this impact? How is this making the city better? Because what you should know is, when you're having some of these fights, it's the reason why people don't like government. It's the reason why people don't like politics, because we unfortunately get wrapped up in fighting about stuff that has no impact on their lives. When they're suffering, when they're challenging, when they're looking for government to be responsive to their needs, we're sometimes fighting about things that are trivial. And I would also say, to, you know, echoing the remarks of the senator and Mayor Young, employers aren't your enemies, and you might not agree with everything that they do, but Baltimore only exists or can exist because if we have a thriving economy, and that is from small businesses to large institutions. I think our job is to make sure that everyone thrives and no one is taken advantage of, and that those who have historically been left behind, that we look for creative ways to bring them along. So when I was mayor, we created our anchor institution partnership, where I brought our major employers to the table and figured out how we could take a look at the things that their hiring practices, what they're spending money on. How can we bring more Baltimoreans along in their economic, to everyone's economic benefit? Again, you know, I think we can get into this notion that, you know, that we're adversaries, right, with certain industries, certain institutions, but I just ask you to step out of that role that we are being placed in, unfortunately, sometimes by the media, that, you know, that because they get their revenue based on conflict, so you know, it's sometimes easy to fall into that. Everything isn't a fight. there are many ways that you can come to the table and look for your mutual interests, and look for and find creative solutions if you decide that you're willing to step outside of the roles that I think we're too often forced into. And the last thing I'll say is have fun. Have fun. It's okay to enjoy this. It's okay to enjoy each other. As I sit here, I was remember we used to have the pizza contest when we had to. So when we had the budget, we had the budget hearings. They would go forever.
Oh yeah.
They were sometimes very, very heated.
Back in my day too.
Right, and I just remember one of the things that I did was we had a best pizza in the city contest. So because everybody has to eat at some point. So we had a contest. Everybody, if you wanted to, because some people's district didn't have anything as far as good pizza. That's the competitiveness in me. I'm sorry, but that kind of stuff, right?
And the best pizza happened to be in your district.
Always.
Matthews. I claimed that though.
Matthews.
I didn't give it to you. I didn't.
did.
Yeah.
She sure did.
Sorry. Anyway, just like it, and that was just one thing. There are ways that you can come together to enjoy each other, to learn each other, and that is the way that you build up the relationship capital that you can use to move things forward for the city.
And another thing to Ms. Ronald Briggs' credit, we used to go out. We didn't have a quorum. You can't make sure you don't have a quorum. You gotta let the media know that's your meeting. And it wasn't a meeting, it was just socially, where we used to go down to, in your district again. What was the name of that place you used to go? No, that wasn't Captain James, that restaurant.
Which one?
Callie's Court, remember we went there?
Mm-hmm.
And then up the street from Callie's Court was another favorite spot that we used to go to.
Waterfront Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
We used to have, we just had
Outings.
good times.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it was a clique. It was different people at different times. And it was always the council president because she was the council president. And we used to have lots of fun, And if I could say another thing is, make sure that the League of Cities, the NACO, MACO, that you guys be involved in these different organizations because it's helpful. You get information from them, they get information from you. And Sharon is a big wheel down there now. National League of Cities and all that stuff.
Question I'm gonna lead into.
Okay, but that's all I have.
Tossing and turning. Because all of you have been talking about, really about relationships. And when I first got on the council, Jack and Stephanie and many others on the council then, you have to be a part of MACO. You have to, and then move in to NACO. And I did do that start and eventually became the president of MACO at 2020 when COVID came. So I was noted as the COVID president. But I just want to continue to add that you have to remember that Baltimore City is awesome. Keep that in your mind that we are the economic engine of this entire state. And we can't work in silos just within the city. You have to, I implore you to be a part of the Maryland Association of Counties and get ideas from our colleagues, our council members or commissioners, and build those personal relationships with them. And then eventually, advance to being a part of the National Association of Counties. And that's when you really get to talk to other council members around the country. I just, not too long ago, got a call from the president asking, because of my tenure and just, getting knowledge from those organizations and all those committees, I've asked to represent Maryland on a new task force for emergency preparedness, and that's because of what happened at the Key Bridge. Most of the people on that task force are, from hurricane disasters and earthquakes and things like that. So, that's how I'm now really going to connect with our Congress people and senators and meet twice a year. And when we have our winter meeting, we have a day we go to Capitol Hill and meet with those elected officials and talk about things. But it's all about that relationship building. Our mayor and Rawlings Blake and Jack, they were on panels on those, with the National Association of Counties. So it just doesn't give you exposure, it exposes our city. Remember, we're still one of the largest cities in the country. So I implore you to best practices that you have learned from and signed by the University of Maryland, College Park, all that took time to arrange to really help us. And again, it's getting that exposure nationally and throughout the state, and letting them and reminding them that Baltimore City is really in charge of this whole state. So if any of you want to add to that importance.
What I would say, good, Heather, good.
I would say that thank you for bringing that up, and it's very important that we represent Baltimore locally, but also nationally. The reason I was able to become the first and unfortunately only black woman and only Baltimore mayor to become president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors is because I understood that we have an obligation and an opportunity to lead, not just here, but nationally. And if you need assistance or support thinking through different organizations and how you can start that process of having an impact, serving in these organizations and putting yourself on the path to leadership in these organizations, if that's something that you desire, I'll continue to be a resource.
Thank you.
And I'll be a resource as well. But don't let the media keep you from traveling to meet other local elected officials. They don't understand. We're going and we're getting good ideas from around the country. So when like if you want to go to the MACO conference, if you want to go to the National League of Cities, if you want to go to the big national organizations, don't be afraid to travel, and just come back and share with your colleagues what you learned, bring materials back. Please don't let the media tell you you can't travel or that you're taking a junket, a vacation, because it's really not a vacation. You do have some downtime where you go to dinners and stuff like that, and they sponsor dinners and things like that for you. But don't be afraid to travel, so you can learn best practices from other people around the country. Don't let them tell you you can't.
I just want to reiterate what my colleagues said, because one of the things that we did in the Maryland delegation was to be Team Maryland. And where what was happening in one part of the state, we would look out for the other. So when we fought on, or when we worked on issues, one of the ways we were able to get the new VA hospital in downtown Baltimore many years ago was because we had the help of Steny Hoyer and the Washington part of the delegation. As they fight for the FBI building, we're Team Maryland because we want the FBI building, which is still continued at risk. It's the Team Maryland, but it is being willing, again, to even go to other parts of the state. And it also, I want to, excuse me, it's so congested here today for me. The MACO, it will be very fashionable to bash Baltimore.
Yeah.
Very fashionable. When you don't, we can be easily scapegoated, but it's harder to scapegoat when you know the council president, when you know the council people that are working on housing or working on issues related to the elderly, or whether you're working on, how to green our communities, food deserts. all those digital divides, thank you, all those kinds of things. So if the biggest inoculation against Baltimore bashing is for you to have relationships through existing organizations. And I tell you, it's really interesting to learn to go do that. So, did you want to throw it open though?
Yeah, and thank you, Senator, and thank you, Vice President Middleton. Really important point about not letting other people define us, but us being there to define ourselves. Quickly before I go to Councilman Bullock, just did also want to circle back to the point Mayor Rollins Blake, Mayor Young made about just us getting together in different scenarios. And I think that COVID took a big hit on legislative bodies across the country and this one. And so getting back to that culture where we can go to each other's districts, we can go find the good crab spot or the pizza spot, and just spend time together and know each other as people and our families, I think is so critically important. So just want to appreciate that point, and we'll go to Councilman Bullock.
Just first, thank you for your time and your wisdom today. Just want to ask a question that I think it would be helpful for all of us. So a lot of us come to the council with backgrounds of organizing. Some of us are labor organizers, housing organizers, transportation organizers as well. And there's that relationship, but sometimes that tension between being a legislator and an elected official and organizing. Can you talk about your relationship and how you kind of navigated that as a member of the council and also pushing the issues forward, but recognizing your role in that? Come on.
Well, I've always been pro-union, but there was a thin line where sometimes we didn't agree on certain things. Case in point was I used the $15 minimum wage. I looked at it from a different point of view. I looked at it as we're the only ones that's going with the $15 minimum wage. And I'm looking at the surrounding counties. If we did the minimum wage and the other state didn't do it, I looked at it as the other employees, because if I was an employer and I had a hotel and I had to pay somebody $15 an hour, I would take the most experienced people coming from the surrounding counties to give them those jobs. And that's the way I was thinking, and it wouldn't help us in the city of Baltimore, because they would say, oh, you want to play that game? We'll just go and hire the people who we already have experience and pay them the $15 and you'd be left out. So that was one of the things that, and I wanted $15 an hour, don't get me wrong, I wanted it, but I was looking at the adverse effect that it might have on our workers and our economy in the city of Baltimore. And that was the only thing that really me and the union didn't agree on. And then the other one was they wanted to repeal the police pension, which would have bankrupted the city. The mayor, during her administration, knew that that was a heavy bill for us to pay, and it could have really cost the city a lot of unnecessary problems, layoffs and stuff of that nature. Those were the two that I think the union has held against me for a long time. But I know it was the right decision. We finally got it because it's statewide, $15 minimum wage. And I still think $15 is not enough to really raise a family. And I think that these companies that are making millions and millions of dollars can pay our workers a little more. And I don't want to take a hit at my former employer that I worked 33 years and 6 months, that the #1 institution in the world really doesn't offer health insurance to their employees. And most of their employees, let me not able to tell you this, most of their employees work until they die because they can't afford the insurance premium. And the #1 institution in the world should be offering their employees some type of health coverage, and they don't.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
That's the real fight.
Senator?
You know, again, not to sound like history and so on, but when the election of 1971 was a turning point in the sense of empowerment in the cities. Up until then, Baltimore City had been dominated by political bosses running political machines. There were the rise though of the community groups, organizers, those of us like my own background, where we organized on our own time and our own dime to make that. And then we got elected. There were the famous East Baltimore one, that challenge out of which Bob Douglas and others came. Myself, that of a group called SECO, Southeast Community Organization. And our whole idea was to shift the sense of empowerment who was in charge and who did the council listen to. So our very effort of going to regular community improvement association meetings, to go to their meetings rather than the mayor telling he always had his whip in the council. Then it was Councilman Joe Curran, again, of very blessed memory, Katie O'Malley's grandfather. So anyway, but then by going to the meetings and following up on the community issues, big or small, whether it was a trash light, a stoplight, and so on, it was that they had the power. It was the community association agenda. However, you had to make it clear that we were a voice. And we wanted to be, first of all, be sure that they had a voice at the table. So we actually invited the community group to testify at hearings rather than department heads. Nothing wrong with department heads. We need them. God bless them. They feel fairly disempowered in many instances. But bringing them into the room, bringing them to the table, as you said, through these collaborative meetings, and it began to shift the power balance. So you made sure that they had voice, you helped them make sure that their issues had visibility, while you then had them giving voice and visibility at actual actions you were taking or meetings to be able to solve their problems. And I felt that had a long way. But it starts always with regular communication, giving and making sure they have it. I don't know if that's helpful to you.
Thank you, yes.
But you are their voice, but you're not their employee.
That's the tension.
That you're an independent, you see. One of the things, too, I loved what I call my spontaneous town halls, where walking through then the public markets. I always knew I could get an earful walking through, the Broadway market, the markets in my district were Cross Street and Broadway. And it was really something. And then taking other council people, when we all went to Atman's one day and had a corned beef. When I took Dr. Jock Julian and we had a Polish hot dog at the Broadway market, he said, I have to.
Me hungry.
Doc said, I've got to stay a doctor. You're killing with your cholesterol. But you know what? And people saw us together. Barb Mikulski and Doc Julian. It wasn't that we were enemies. It's just that we were colleagues and that we were out there. But by just going to their events or the events in the community allowed spontaneity of communication.
I think the tension comes, just as the senator says, when you forget who you're working for. I think it's important to have people that come from all different backgrounds at the table to solve problems. And if you come from the position of an advocate, you should bring that experience to the table. But understand that you're now working for your constituents, not the organization that you used to be affiliated with. And that point being said, sometimes that means having to have difficult conversations with people that you used to align with, right? Because you're not. It's when you're working for everybody, you can't always work for the group that that you used to work for. And sometimes when you're in a position to know more, that information is giving you a different perspective. Mm-hmm. And the tension comes from the unwillingness, or maybe it's either unwilling or unable, to be honest about the information that you've been given, mm-hmm. and then do something with it. Because you may be, there might be information that was shared with you that will give you a different perspective. And that perspective may be the right perspective because you have more information. It would be very easy to ignore it and keep the line that you that you've had before, because it's convenient, it's easy, there's no tension. But I would beg you to, anyone who's in a position, whether it's from your organizing background or your previous experience, if you know better, do better. Because that is the opportunity that this leadership gives you. And I would get so frustrated when I was on the city council, and the senator mentioned it, when the hard vote came, people were looking every which way but at you. Or what I remember,
I got rolled.
Right, and I remember in the city council when there'd be a hard vote, and you look around and all of a sudden somebody had a weak bladder, so they were in the, they had to go to the bathroom. Anybody can do your job on an easy day. Anybody. You are here because your constituents wanted you in these positions for the hard days. And please don't shy away from having the hard conversations, making the hard vote, because it is a betrayal of the trust that your constituents put in you.
Mayor Pugh, remember when
Mayor Pugh. I'm having
Stephanie.
Yeah, thank you.
Remember when I first came on the council, you were council president at the time, and I was like one of the deciding votes for the non-smoking in restaurants. If you all only imagine, especially the newcomers, just coming on really that first couple months, and I had to make that decision to have non-smoking areas in restaurants. And if it wasn't for that relationship building with my colleagues and just really trying to make that decision, I remember the media trying to get a decision out of me first before, trying to make me do a decision. And I just say, remember, your vote is your vote, and you don't have to give your final decision to anyone. And it's just so important to just take the time to do research. But look, people don't even think about that now. Look what, it's like part of the restaurant building process.
But Madam Vice President, I think you mean not telling the media your vote, but making sure that the council president knows where you are at all times. Okay. I just want to make that point, because I know she didn't mean the way it was portrayed. She meant that the media don't need to know your vote, but your council president needs to know.
I just want to say, at the beginning of this term for me, I had to go straight to the fire, and that was really crazy at that Camp Small, and I didn't realize how being out there for like 4 hours in the smoke can really affect you until I had a conversation with Councilman Slifer and said that can something that can linger on. So that's kind of what I'm going through since Thursday, really. Just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I appreciate you being out there too. Councilman Gray?
Yep, I just want to say thank you all for being here. The knowledge that we have at this table is just really humbling, and this is before you guys even stepped in, so I just want to say thank you for coming. I just have a question, and I'm thinking back on what you said, Mayor Young, about the inclusionary housing bill and how it was watered down, and you kind of had to bite the bullet and just go with it. And thank goodness we had Councilwoman Ramos, who came and kind of finished the job. So I just want to kind of revisit that and talk about and ask you guys your philosophy on the zero-sum game sometimes when it comes to your philosophies when it comes to legislation,
it's a big question.
and whether you are pro I want it all or no vote, or are you guys for piecemealing it sometimes and then hoping down the road there's somebody that will come and finish the job? And if you guys can give some examples, I would appreciate that as well.
It was really a compromise. Our housing commission had a different perspective on how inclusionary housing need to look and whether it would have an adverse effect on developers wanting to develop in our neighborhoods in our community. So it was really a compromise. What you say, Madam Mayor? It was a compromise. of give and take, and we took what we could take, and worked with it from there, and just so that Councilwoman Ramos came around and looked at that and said, hey, I want to see how we can really fix this to make sure that we can get maximize the best that we can for our communities.
I mean, historically, very little of significance is done with all or nothing attitude. So if you take a look at the way that significant legislation is passed in any body, in legislative body, what you'll see is a progression of ideas, progression of support. What you'll also see is there will be some people who will use the opportunity to try to scapegoat their colleagues, try to stand on a principle, knowing that the vote is not going to happen, but use it as an opportunity to say, I'm the only person here that is fighting for this cause, this community, yada yada, some BS. And that's what you have to fight against, and creating an environment in the council that's going to call that out, to say, and called it out internally and with the media. So this is the vote's not happening. The votes aren't there. So this person is out here, saying X, Y, or Z, knowing that there are no consequences. Or if there's a big vote that a challenging vote that either is going or is going to pass or not going to pass, people that are standing on the side where it's a safe space to mouth off because they know that there are no consequences. That's like that, if you can't tell, is one of my pet peeves, because if you don't have it takes guts to make a tough decision. It takes strength to have hard conversations with your constituents about the realities, not what people in the echo chamber are shouting, but the realities of things that are going on with the budget, things that are going on in industry, right? You have to be willing to have those tough conversations, and if your goal is the spotlight, you've really chosen the wrong job.
So you want to put that?
Just very quickly, my belief in all of my years of governance, whether it was in the council, Congress, the House, or in the Senate, was don't make the perfect the enemy of the good. Don't make the perfect the enemy of the good. And sometimes, when you take a sip of lemonade, it has more lemon than aid. But an example at the federal level was when I was supporting my very dear friend Senator Feinstein in her first legislative initiative to ban assault weapons. Well, we all know the consequences of assault weapons in streets and neighborhoods. We could pass it if we had the votes, if we had a time limit on it. And we chose to accept a time limit rather than not. And I could go through other examples. So that would be my very, very, very strong recommendation of that. And we are going to face these issues now in the new climate. Remember, we're going to have 2 new climate punches. The first climate punch is the president-elect and their approach. There will be a war against Maryland and the federal agencies here. So even though we continue to fight for the FBI building in Prince George's, don't count on them not wanting to shrink Social Security. They might not touch the benefit. Social Security is the largest health insurance agency in America. CMS, that Dr. Oz is going to head up, is the largest health insurance agency. One's the largest retirement. It is the basis of the red line. To go from, which I always hated that term, red line always meant exclusion.
Yeah, I know.
And maybe
I agree.
We ought to call it corridor of opportunity, etc.
If they would only listen to you, Senator.
But anyway, there will be, Mr. Elon Musk's task will be to either try to close agencies or to move them out of the area. And we are a big blue target state. Yeah. So a very good governor and a very good friend to Baltimore, is facing going to be big budget issues. One word about the red line. It's not only getting the money for the red line, but I know Governor Moore has, the red line's very special to me. I work very closely with Elijah Cummings, my very dear colleague. We had the money on the table. I was chairing appropriations. Elijah worked with Team Maryland in the House. I with, going back to Sarbanes-McCartan, and you know what happened. Now Governor Moore is advocating fixed rail. I'm not taking a position, but I want you to examine, do you want technology that you're freezing in place technology of today, or do you want to have not only fight for the money for Red Line, but for a transportation system that allows you to continually take advantages of the transportation of tomorrow? Think about that. Think about that. It might eliminate tunnels. It might, you know. So that will be a very big issue. In terms of the bridge money, I want you to know our delegation is fighting tooth and nail to get that in, but I think that'll be another big hit. So it'll be physical infrastructure, the elimination of the Department of Education, which would be devastating. They need you as an echo chamber, but they will be trying to close or move federal agencies out of Maryland. And we want to be part of Team Maryland, and that goes to the NACO Alliance and so on. Do you know we have 300,000 federal employee and retirees in Maryland? Yes. Do you know at NIH right now there are 13,000 people working? They have their own fire department because of the hospital on the grounds and so on. Social